We are ready.
Fait que là, on est live, Kwekskina. Ici, Alexandre Niquado, accompagné de mon collègue André Dudemaine. Nous avons notre invité Nico Williams cette semaine. Fait que l'entrevue va se faire en anglais avec André. Cette semaine, en fond, ça a été différent, particulièrement parce qu'André est physiquement avec Nico Williams où est-ce que Nico fait son exposition. Fait que moi, je vais vous laisser tous les deux jaser parce que j'aimerais ça vous donner une meilleure image de l'autre côté. Fait que je te laisse la parole, André.
Merci, Miigwech. Thank you, Alexandre. Alors, nous voici en direct. We are at l'Arsenal, which is a huge artistic center where there is several artists that are on show. Art show, and this is really a beautiful space for me. It's discovery. That's the first time I come here, and well, I know already, and I suppose all of the people listening knows about. Most of you knows about Nico, but for the few that are new in the artistic news of the and the star, knowing the stardom of the Indigenous world in Montreal, I will ask Nico to give a short presentation of his work and of himself.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Yeah. So the exhibition here opened in November, and it's at Bluain Division upstairs in the Arsenal building, and it was such like a fun, eventful year. I've been working on many public sculptures, and I had an exhibition earlier this year, and this is sort of like the final one of 2021, and it's been a fantastic, busy year working with my studio team. I have a studio in Hochelaga, and you know, a lot of the work is created where I'm situated. So like the first part of the exhibition, or the first exhibition, Chi-Miigwech, which opened in May, I was in this area by the Jack Carter Bridge. And so I would walk back and forth during the pandemic, and there was like, you know, these tracings on the snow. So I started to put that on a grocery bag, a beaded grocery bag called Miigwech, Miigwech, Miigwech. And it's just in relationship to like where I am or the environment. And I had seen this like tree silhouette cascading against snow, and I got very excited about that. And I was like, wow, okay. So then fast forward to the summer, I moved studios. It's crazy to keep a studio in Tiohtià. You know, it's difficult for, you know, artists to get a lease or whatever, you know, because it's like there's not that much space, or it's very expensive, you know. So I was also a recipient this year of the Claudine and Stephen Brofman Award, and that's a research award given to Concordia students. So I had finished my thesis this year with advisor Nadia Mir. So that it's just been a constant year, you know, finishing the thesis. That exhibition went up, and then I switched studios, and then where I'm situated now is on St. Catherine East in Hochelaga. And walking around there, I started to notice, you know, recyclables on the ground, right? I started seeing, you know, craft dinner boxes. I found a craft dinner box on the ground, and I found an Amazon bag on the ground, just a little sneaking talk about what's coming next year. And I also found these cereal boxes. And then I started thinking to myself, I was like, oh, wow. Like, I thought about baskets. I thought about Indigenous baskets, you know, ash baskets all up here in Quebec, you know, those beautiful ash baskets made from the trees. And then I started looking at the paper baskets that I was finding. Like, they're not a basket, they're a box, and they're colorful and they hold stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, like, this paper is coming from the trees. but we only use it only once, and then we recycle it. And I was like thinking about this relationship to an ash basket, how families I still use many old baskets in my studio, filling them up with beads or, lugging projects around, and we're still using them. And they're this beautiful brown color. So when I started beading these, sugar boxes, these like wonderful, colorful objects. I love the color of them. I'm so excited about the color. So then when I looked at these temporary sort of things that were recycling, I was like, I'm going to bead these. And then so I started stretching out lines of thread against the surface of these cereal boxes. And I just started, picking up colors and really getting the right bead. Like this was crazy to do. I was going diagonal or horizontal and just choosing the right color, squinting my eyes, and really making sure that, it gives the illusion of these objects that I'm finding out front of my studio on Hochelaga, on St. Catherine Street. And then I even here we had a little strawberry and just making sure that we got the right color. And then I chose this brown backing, and it reminded me of an ash basket, like an aged color of a basket that's 100 years old. And then we hand stitched all of them to these stretched cowskin leather canvases. And the reason why because I could have got deerskin or caribou or buffalo, but I wanted to really think about the relationship between, colonial sort of enterprises and colonial commodities, and thinking about, everything in this cereal box here. You have different types of sugars coming in, or, different types of ingredients that aren't indigenous to this sort of, place in which we're situated. And they're all in these temporary boxes. We don't even know where those trees are coming from that are making up those cardboard boxes, or the inks. So I really thought about how it's such a loaded object. And then stitching it onto cowskin was sort of just having that, cows coming in, onto the land, taking resources from the land to feed them, but it's not an indigenous animal to North America or Quebec. We have all these, deer and, elk and caribou. And that's why I chose the cowskin. I was like, the cowskin is going to be the base for these cereal boxes, because already these objects are loaded, and they're also, they're all on the communities because they are cheaper, or if you're north, they're very expensive. So thinking about these objects and how we can just see them, we know where they're coming from, or, what at the grocery store, but we don't know where all the other stuff is coming from, and it's a comment on, indigenous food sovereignty, being able to, go out and hunt and fish and think about that. So I think these objects are very loaded with that. And it's just loaded with sugar and color, and it has a lot of meaning and layers behind it. And then I sort of put it on this stretched thing to put up on the wall, because I thought it would really, give that sort of view when people are in front of it. But I guess you do need the artist to talk about it, because they would never know if I wasn't talking about it like that.
Is it a kind of reversed cultural appropriation?
I think so, right? I think so, right? I'm taking these objects and I'm using all of these colonial resources and making these objects, and they're like painting, but it's beads. So I'm also playing with that too. How painting is very in the dominant art culture, and I've put beads up, presented them like paintings. They're baskets deconstructed, stitched to the wall or the canvas, cowhide cure object.
We know that Zamir has been one of the first artists to reintroduce beading in modern art. And it's fantastic now how it is a traditional craft is now making its own way through the contemporary art scene. And I find it very interesting. I see that you, something that is more, I would say traditional in a sense, when you take your Indian card and you bead it.
Oh yeah,
That's funny. That's really funny.
Well, yeah, I thought about also another thing about, again, this like exhibition is exploring sculpture as beads. Like there is beadwork sculpture all throughout. And I thought about, the Indian status card, and I made like a couple of them already. I make one portrait a year. They're always different expressions. And I thought about this relationship with, status cards and how they are sort of these like, colonial, you are Indigenous, So I was looking at my old ones. Now they're like these clear cards with like the bear and eagle, but I had like the old ones still, and I looked and I was like, you know what? Because like every time I was applying to things, they'd be like, oh, can you scan your card or can you do that? And I would, but there was a point where I'm just like tired of it. And so I decided to make those little cards as a way as like a portrait, how an artist will do like a painting of themselves or sort of this like representation. And so I've done a portrait like once a year now at least, and I'll put a different expression. And I think this one is actually called Rock On 2021, and there's no mask, and just like the face and expression is sort of looking at you, and just like, as things are opening and more people are coming into spaces, it's just really great to be doing that. That's why I did the card, and it's hilarious, right?
Yes,
I love it. I love it so much. And that was like before I did lottery tickets and all that, it was the status card first. Because I just lined up my beads on my status card, and then I started to just draw. And then I did a little portrait. And yeah, the first one is funny, but this one's great. This one's so awesome. You can just see like the evolution of color and precision in the piece. Because like the first one had like little broken beads, like, because I was just figuring out how to bead sort of that image and stuff, where this is just all perfect and precise, and would make the ancestors proud if they were looking at it. They're like, oh, it's so tight. And the wallet is actually done by an Indigenous artist. My first wallet was a found object that I got on Manitoulin, and the wallet is bison skin, and it was cut by an Indigenous artist living in Hochelaga at the time called Charles Buckle.
Charles Buckle.
Yeah, Charles Buckle. And they're doing their leather work, and I always like to, promote Indigenous artists rather than, going in and doing that. So they actually hand cut the whole wallet for the project, and it was so wonderful. And it was just like such a good thing because, I'm using, cow skin and stretched things like that, where, to get like an Indigenous maker also, making like an Indigenous object, but a wallet isn't. Do you know what I mean? So I'm really playing with this big collaboration of all that. And the status card just sitting there on the wallet, or if you just like found it on the ground, and I put it at this like, pocket sort of length for experiencing it. And it's all about the beads just giving you that stare back, and I put it in the wallet because like somebody framed one one time.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my status cards were framed, and I was like, that's weird. I was like, why are you framing it? You know, like those little
Yeah.
portraits of like a little autochtone or something, you know, behind glass. And so when I had seen that, I was like, no, they belong in a wallet. Like they're always in a wallet. Like I'm pretty sure. So I thought it was a very interesting way to do that.
Yeah, it's funny because when I saw it, I don't know why, I thought coyote. And maybe the face that was
Did
there.
you see the face?
Yeah.
The face and the beads are just trippy. How I put them.
And then listening to you, I say, well, it could be the Indian card of the trickster, of of a mythic character of our and translated in modern stuff and modern look also. And also, what is particular, and I think it's no surprise for those who are listening to us, this is a very funny and colorful exhibition. And of course, it is also in the tradition of the pop art and maybe pop tart. No pop tart. Fruit Loops. And this is interesting also because I think with all the news and the stories that are getting out about Indigenous situation, something is lost in this translation of our realities. In our heritage, our heritage is very joyful, and the relation with the land is very joyful too.
Yeah.
So I think you somehow translate it to. So it is important for you not to be dramatic, more funny, I could say.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. No. Just grab it by the. Yeah, exactly.
No, don't beat
Oh
it.
no, I won't. I'll beat this. No. Maybe. Yeah, exactly. Like in Indigenous communities, there is like a humor and there is like a very joyful relationship to that. And you know, I think media really focuses on other parts of that, and I really try to communicate that with my work. Like I try to like have that humor, that laugh, because I find like when you're like at home visiting on the res or seeing aunties or cousins or whatever, or friends even, or you have a room full of Indigenous people all surrounding, you'll just hear this like big burst of laughter, like a bashkapi, a big laugh. And I think that is like a really important element, you know, in Indigenous art practice too. So, you know, the colors, like even in this, like there is a humor to it, right?
Yeah.
Like they have this little like tugs and stuff. So I really try to bring out like little details that are just like, you'll see it and it's joyful. And there is like it is beadwork. So when you are working with beadwork, there is sort of like this like magic to it when you're looking at it or experiencing it. And when you go very small with the beads, it becomes this very intimate thing that you can just really like, it can like take your breath away when you're in front of it. And it's very, you know, like this practice, it's super Indigenous. Like I was doing this interview with people in Venice, and their ancestors were making hanks of beads for the merchants who were trading the land here in North America, and they were making the beads. They're hand putting them on all the hanks and stuff in Venice, but they didn't know where the merchants were taking all those beads. So because, you know, this is a long time ago. And it's funny about this material, beads, because it's important to, you know, Indigenous communities. And honestly, when I had started beading, I fell in love with just the material. I didn't know how to bead. I was like, I am in love with the colors. I just kept grabbing all of it. And then I had made that little ball gag in 2014 that I had shown in the old port at the Oshikon Center. They're open?
No, they are no
no,
longer
no.
open. Ashokan Center.
It
yeah,
was
I
it was
remember.
a center.
Plage de
to-
Cartier.
Yes, yeah, I was there, and then I exhibited it, and then that was just sort of my intro, and I fell in love with the beads. And yeah, so back to the Venice talk. When we were there, like they didn't know where their beads were going, and then they're coming over here to North America and doing giant trade negotiations. They're being like, oh, you want this material? You like Aamjiwnaang had this negotiation, like my home community from across the Detroit. We were in Detroit first. And then on the other side, there was this great trade that had happened, and it was like something ridiculous with like pounds of thread, a bunch of beads, like pounds and pounds of beads and thread. So this material was super important, and there is research that is lost, but certain discoveries are going to continue to be made within it. Like even I'm looking at Ojibwe bandolier bags right now, like in the past, like floral beadwork, and they're actually putting syllabic in the vines of the plants.
Wow.
So I think there's a lot out there, and many beadwork artists right now. There's a boom happening on Instagram of like makers who are making objects to wear, like earrings and all that. And I think those makers are also important because they are creating these objects to represent their culture that people can adorn on their body, and there's so many awesome makers out there. So beadwork is having this sort of revitalization right now, and it's like exploding, and very exciting to see this happen.
Yeah, and also that beading is also a kind of ritual. There is, you mentioned it, there is a magic about it, and it brings us something to the soul, I am sure, because you are doing this patient work, and slowly it takes form, and all the gesture, the weight, the action is also a connection to all the heritage, all our heritage. That's really something special. And also I remember I had this discussion because people often look at the past like it is today. And they were selling, it's crazy, they were selling pelts, ton of pelts for mirrors and beads.
Yeah.
But in that time, even in Europe, broken mirrors were very expensive because it was not a common good. It was only the rich who could have mirrors. And when they were broken, it was they find it worth to sell the pieces
Of a mirror.
of a mirror because it was very, very expensive, the mirror itself. And so the lower class people were able to get mirrors, but pieces, not a full one.
Wow.
So when they brought it here, it was even more expensive because it was something unknown in America. And the same with the glass pearls or beads.
Yeah.
And I said I remember at the radio station, I told the interviewer, go to Bangkok and you will see bamboo is almost nothing if you want to buy some bamboo wood. But go to the yard where they are selling wood and try to get bamboo here. You will see the difference of the price. Yeah. And it was the same when there was a trading with the newcomers. So and that's why it was made in Venice. It was a very specialized craft, and it's interesting because it was like two traditions great tradition that were coming from long ago. There was a meeting between those two line of transmission in Venice. When was it? What do you mean? You were when you were in Venice.
Oh, I was right before the pandemic. Yeah, there was like it was such a year. Like I was invited out to MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Boston, and I met with Kate McKinnon, who organizes this beadwork group called the Contemporary Geometric Beadwork team. And when I went there, I really connected with them, and I got to meet beaders from all over the USA. And then we were like, okay, let's go to like Europe, and we're gonna do some beading stuff there. And then I got to connect with like European beaders who are also using glass beads and innovating it with like new discoveries. It's the more geometric stuff that I've done, and you've seen the stuff like the 3D beads, and they were like, how are you doing this? And like, you know, a lot of it was just coming from, you know, different channels of inspiration, sometimes through what's in front of me, like these objects here, or through dreams. And, you know, I just really follow what I'm supposed to be doing, or what I'm really excited about. Or, you know, picking up like that craft dinner box, for instance, I was like, what am I doing? I'm beading a craft dinner box. But, you know, the cheese on that, the beaded box is like a 24 karat gold line bead. And I'm thinking about, you know, objects that are precious to people. Why are they precious? You know, I'm more excited about, you know, the materials. And like this material here is a plastic bead from the US. And I wanted to bead these objects with plastic on purpose. Not the glass status card, or the glass bag, or the glass lace, or the glass KD, but like for the cereal boxes, I was thinking about, you know, this material that attracts children. You find it in the children's store, and, you know, somehow I found the right colors that lined up with these boxes. You know, people are like, Nico, how did you find the right colors to get like the right little shadow? You know, and it was like, this was another fun thing. I was like, how am I going to use these plastic beads that are made for, you know, children, and how am I going to really innovate it? And, you know, this was again taking another risk. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just do this. Like, this is it attracts, you know, youth. When they're in the supermarket, they'll be like, oh, buy the most colorful things, you know. And so it really worked. It's very like bright and vibrant. And, you know, again, I just wanted to really think about not being stuck to just one material, you know. So I'm trying to really start, you know, beading with other sort of things that are perfect cylinder shape. And like, even I'm working right now with Ludovic Bonny in Quebec City, and we're beading a large metal sculpture for outside. It's going to be unveiled June 2022, and it's going to be 11 feet by 10 feet beadwork. And it's using aluminum cylinders that are the size of like Habitant soup cans, you know, from like the yeah. So we're doing these. We're making beads, right? Now we're making beads, and we're going to be using car paint for certain parts of it. And then I've done this this design of this flower with leaves coming out, and it's like a cutout. So then when you're looking at the work, you can really appreciate what's in front, like the nature behind. So I've cut the flower out, I've cut the leaves out, and it's all these metal aluminum soup can size beads. And you'll really just be able to like look at the water through it, or the trees around it. And, you know, I think the ancestors really want, you know, people to appreciate nature, to really have that relationship to it. So that's why I'm always trying to like put that element in there, because, you know, these relationships are here, they're here. And now it's just, you know, trying to get that other aspect, like really appreciating nature. Like, yes, we have our relationships with each other, but I also think that we need to really focus on our relationships with plants and animals. You know, I think this is a really important circle that has been practiced in Turtle Island forever, you know, and this respect and this reciprocity of, you know, all cohabiting together and really thinking about, you know, not taking too much and, you know, thinking about, you know, supporting that ecosystem of all these things together. Because like, even when you're talking about like the bamboo, you know, you can go to the Dollarama and everything's made out of bamboo on their wood section. Do you know what I mean? All that, and it's like 50 cents or something. Well, no, it's $1. It's Dollarama. But, you know, where did those go or come from? You know, like what community did we take those? And even right now with like all those freighters stuck up on like the ocean surrounding us right now, right? Because they can't get in for the shipping. And there's like, oh, there's going to be a shortage of resource. And it's like, well, where are those coming from? You know, this is another comment, you know, like we should be able to sustain ourselves from like what is in front of us, like, you know, Indigenous communities have been doing for such a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a total confidence in the territory. The territory, say, you go up the river and with a sack of flour and you will survive. Because the territory can give you all you need if you respect the cycle and the animals and the spirit of the land. This is the tradition. So I think now people are really excited and want to see your exhibition.
Yeah.
So it is 2020. Easy to remember. 2020.
January 22nd, 2022. This is up.
Okay, so don't tell them because they will say, "Oh, we will see it tomorrow.
Yeah,
we'll see it tomorrow. Come right now."
Yeah, come right now.
And bring your children. It is very. Yes, and it is funny, and there is other artists that have made crazy works that I am sure children will love. It's not the minimalist gallery that often we have. Well, it's interesting too, but this one is all the works around, and especially Nico's work are really, 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 as we say, colorful, joyful, and everybody is welcome. This is called l'Arsenal, Blouin Division.
Upstairs.
Yeah. When you come to the Arsenal, you have to go. To go upstairs, and you will find.
It's a big building, right?
Yeah, that's really huge.
They're connected, but it's just getting around. Yeah.
I didn't know that's the first time I come here, and I was amazed. Wow, how would I find Nico Williams in that big and huge place?
Somewhere.
Alors, donc, c'est une invitation à l'Arsenal, 2020 rue Williams, pour voir cette magnifique exposition. Là, on ne vous la montre pas, là, vous avez juste droit à celle-là aujourd'hui. Pour vous donner le goût de venir, c'est vraiment, il y a quelque chose de tactile, de sensuel, de ludique, de joyeux. Et comme je le mentionnais tantôt, les enfants vont sûrement adorer. Et en plus, il y a d'autres artistes ici qui se livrent aussi à des expériences tout aussi follement colorées. Et c'est magnifique, c'est très, très beau. And the piece in Quebec City, where it will take place?
Cartier, I think.
Parc Ernest Cartier.
I believe so.
Okay, so
It's like, no, because it's like I have, with the French, I always have problems pronouncing it, but it's, Parc Ernest. It's like this beautiful little river, and it's right there. It's like I think 15-minute walk from downtown Quebec City. Like if you just go down that giant hill, and then you're there.
Alors, quelque part vers la base ville, on trouvera le parc Ernest Cartier. Et c'est là que Ludovic Bonnier, oui, qui est...
Awesome.
Yes, and this is one that artist that is always working big.
Oh yeah, so yeah, Ludo's gonna help it get really big. So
Okay, so that will be the next project. You are working on it now?
yes, we're working on it now, and yep, keep your eyes peeled for it.
So people that goes there may see you working on.
Oh no! It's gonna be it's in the studio because Ludo he has 3 studios.
Okay.
So right now it's in a giant studio, and then it's gonna be up there. Like we're gonna be putting it up, and it's surrounded by all these beautiful wild roses. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, when it will be in situ in the park.
June 2022.
Okay, so
It's
wow.
very fast. Yeah.
Yeah, so next June we will have to be there.
Yeah.
That will be a historical moment.
Yeah, and it's only up for a month. No, I'm kidding. It's there forever. But she said that people will be like, "Oh, we'll wait." You know, it's like come that month. You know what I mean? Come during the opening of it. It's gonna be very fun. Yeah.
Alors voilà, Alexandre, tu es toujours là avec nous?
Oui, je suis toujours là en background.
Parfait.
Je vous écoute.
Alors, je pense que we are. I think it's almost the time to say goodbye. Do you have something to add?
Not at the moment, but maybe that we can talk about the next podcast. What we'll have. Il nous reste, on va prendre, en fait, on va continuer notre podcast jusqu'au 15 décembre, puis après ça, on va revenir à partir du 19 janvier. On va être en vacances, en fait, là. Puis,
Parfait.
en même temps, on va commencer à faire un calendrier où est-ce qu'on va avoir des invités. Puis, si vous avez des invités que vous voulez qu'on ait sur notre podcast, n'hésitez pas à nous écrire aussi, si vous avez des suggestions.
Yes, if somebody has ideas about people that should be invited at this podcast, let us know. We want to be a reflex of all the indigenous artistic and cultural actuality, everything that is going on and living.
Yeah.
Arts are really our scope. Alors, est-ce que c'est le temps de dire Miigwech?
Miigwech. Thank you for being here with us, Nico Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Alexander.
OK, alors, on vous rappelle, 2020 rue Williams, c'est quelque part à Petite Bourgogne, près de le Griffintown. Vous trouvez facilement via Google ou métro Georges Vanier. Hein, c'est une belle petite marche de 5 minutes du métro.
Ouais.
Alors, et ça vaut le coup. Hein, alors, on vous invite à venir voir cette magnifique exposition, puis découvrir le lieu aussi, l'Arsenal, pour ceux qui ne le connaissent pas.
J'ai partagé le lien du site Blouin Division, puis le Google Maps aussi pour comment s'y rendre.
Parfait. Alors, on se dit à mercredi prochain,
Ouais.
next Wednesday.
Ouais, c'est ça, mercredi prochain.
Parfait. Matashi.
Matashi.